What up, it's your boy JosiahPOdcastTV, back at it again with another YouTube video. This is JosiahPodcast, episode 4, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a little while since the last upload, and I wanted to come back to this. I have some guests lined up. I have Michael Stark and I have Eddie FRB. I want to get those two on here. But I wanted to return to the solo dolo for this 4th episode just to talk about some things that have been going on in my life. This has been a good outlet for me to be able to just speak. In my household at home, I feel very unheard. I feel very misunderstood. I feel very, painted at this picture of somebody who I'm not, and it's really hard to live in that environment all the time and so often. And I wanted to get into that a little bit today. When I was younger, my relationship with my mom was good. It was pretty solid. I mean, she was an only mom, single mom, and she raised me. And I talked about this a little bit before, but she raised me up on her own and until 5th grade. And I talked about Milton Hershey School and my, way of getting into that, so I won't go into too much into detail. Check the other podcast episodes if you're interested. I think I talked about it in the first one, maybe the second too. But with all of that, there got to a point where we started on different paths. She likes to use a point of, I didn't raise you like this, or I'm so disappointed in you, and I can't believe you're like this. We have different means of communicating, and I don't think she's able to compromise with that. So, for example, and I'm not saying this to be cocky. I'm just saying this because I can recognize this about myself. You can recognize your strengths and your weaknesses. One of my strengths is I can communicate very well. I can articulate my feelings and my emotions, and I can, put fact against emotion and balance that out to make a rational response. And my mom cannot do that. Whenever people in life go through things, there's different responses to uncomfort, discomfort, or conflict, or hostility, or anything, any turmoil, anything that makes you uncomfortable. There's different ways that people deal with it. I would escape. I've talked about this a little before. I don't know how open I was about this, but I used to smoke marijuana. I don't think I've even shared this on the channel, so we're getting deep today, chat. We're getting deep. But I want to be real. I used to have an addiction to smoking weed because it helped me get through things. So when I went through it, my brain is always rapid firing. There's a lot going on. I'm always analytically thinking about everything, and it gets tiring. And I would smoke to get away from those feelings. And that's escapism. Some people, go through relationships and they get out of a relationship and it hurts really bad. And they're like, man, I want to do something about this. I'm just going to hop into another relationship. And it's like, it doesn't matter if you actually love that person. Sorry, I dropped my headphones. Doesn't matter if you love the person or whatever. You just use that person for your own gain, and for the escapism of feeling the feelings of the loss of that relationship that you had. So there's many different ways you can escape and distract. Escaping and distracting kind of fall in the same thing. Some people just remove things. So it's like you think of like a long tendril, like a piece of kelp in Minecraft. You know what I mean? Those long wavy things and those leaves that come off of them. And think of the leaves as being different things that you're navigating through life, right? And the strongest kelp has a lot of wavy leaves on it because it goes through a lot of things and a lot of support, and it has a lot of, stability because the kelp, it doesn't just fall over when something goes past it because the kelp kind of helps it stay up because it kept all those things and it kept strong to those, and all those hardships, it strengthened them in the end. I talked about this diamond thing. You go through hardships because we're like rough diamonds, and you compress and compress, and you go through it and you go through it, and then you're that beautiful diamond on the outside. The thing with my mom is she avoids and she pushes things off. And she, you hear this phrase a lot, and I'm going to tell you why I think it's dangerous. Protecting your peace, right? So there's of course, you need to protect your peace, and if you have toxic people in your life, you remove those people from your life, and you make do with what you have and what God has blessed you with, of course. I'm not saying you don't do that. But it comes to a point where if you want somebody in your life or you want a relationship, you have to go through the hardships. Ask anybody you know that is married. I'm not married, but ask anybody you know that is married. They're going to tell you that there have been times where they were pushed to the limits, where they were so upset with their partner, where so much happened that it did not seem bearable. But you know what? Obviously, I'm going to mention God, but you push through that with the strength of the homie Jesus, with the strength that you're provided, the strength that you've built up, the resilience you've built up through all the hardships in your life. You've been through things. They're all lessons. They're all here to teach you things. So instead of facing a reality of we communicate two very different ways, she bashes my way of communication and goes with this mentality of, my way's the highway, and she likes to shut me down and be very disrespectful and then expect a lot of respect and love and all of this in return. She also has this tit for tat mentality, which if you know anybody that's toxic or displays narcissistic characteristics, they have this. And it's this mentality of, well, I did this for you, so you need to do this for me. You need to treat me this way. And if you don't treat me that way, you are ungrateful for what I have done for you. So I'm going to give you a scenario here. And just let this marinate in your mind meat, okay? Let's say that we're friends, me and you, okay? We're walking down a path, and I just bought you a really dope ice cream cone. Man, my favorite is chocolate chip cookie dough. You do some chocolate in there. You get a nice waffle cone, a chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream. If you don't like that, if you're allergic, whatever, you think of whatever your best treat is. If you don't like treats, think of the best food, whatever. If you don't like food, you're nuts. This isn't for you. But think of that. Walking down, having a great time. I just paid out of my own pocket for you. I didn't ask you for anything. And then I go and I shoot you in the leg. Okay? And you're mad at me for that. And you express pain and turmoil, and something is wrong with what I did to you. Okay? And I say, after that, and you express how much I shoot you in the leg and how much that hurts, I say to you, oh, but you don't have the right to talk to me like that. Hold on, pump the brakes. You need to lay there and suffer and take that because I'm about to buy you another ice cream cone. And I just bought you an ice cream cone. And you know what? You're ungrateful for that ice cream cone. You didn't appreciate that ice cream cone I just bought you. How dare you talk to me like that after all the ice cream cones that I've bought you? Do you see the issue there? So the issue is that the topic of conversation was not the ice cream cone. You were not ungrateful for that ice cream cone. In fact, you were enjoying that ice cream cone and you loved that ice cream cone up until the point where you got shot in the leg. Again, that didn't mean you didn't like the ice cream cone. You are now moving your directive to the pain that is being caused by this other action. That is what's flawed with the tit-for-tat mentality. You cannot justify a bad action just because you've done something nice beforehand. It doesn't make sense and it doesn't add up. But when I try and explain my feelings and something as simple as that to try and get my mom to understand, I am met with, I'm not talking about this right now. I'm going to say it again. This is what's happening, and I don't want a response. I have been told that she does not care how I feel. I've tried to express to her that what she has done to me has hurt me, has made me upset, has negatively affected my mental health. And no matter what I do, it is met with I'm rude, I'm disrespectful, I'm ungrateful. I do all these things for you and you don't do anything for me. That's her saying that to me. I don't ask you for a lot. I don't ask you for too much. There's no compromise being made, and I don't feel heard, and it hurts. And I want to talk about that because I'm sure there's many other people out there, and if it's not with your family, if it's with your lover, or if it's with your best friend, or if it's with your acquaintances at school, you go through this, you don't feel heard. You feel like you're screaming as loud as you can and it's silent. And you feel like everything you say is taken out of context. And you feel no matter what you do, you cannot secure this relationship. And here's my advice. I put myself in a position where I have to rely on my mom. I have to rely on her for a place to stay. I didn't even get to that part, but she has held over me staying with her. She has threatened to kick me out and to take my dog away from me. She has threatened to take Bubba not once but twice. And she gaslights me because whenever I go and say something about it, she's like, oh no, I don't want the dog. I can't take the dog. I never said that. But it's so heavily implied when she says, you're leaving, you can leave, and don't worry, I got the dog. The dog can stay here. I paid for the dog. I paid for the dog's food. All of those things point to you are trying to take my dog from me. And that hurts, and that crosses a line of respect that I will not tolerate. But because I am your offspring, you believe that you can disrespect me and treat me like garbage, even if the day before you treated me nice. And you expect me to roll over and show my stomach and say, okay, well, you bought me that ice cream cone. You bent over backwards to get that ice cream cone. So you know what? Anything you do now, you're covered. That's not how a relationship works. So here's my advice to get to that. Many of you are probably kids or underage or not underage, still relying on parents or people who raised you up, etc. And that's okay. You use this turmoil and this pain as your fuel because you're going to get to a point, and I'm going to do it with my mom again. And if you're watching this is just the harsh reality because obviously I can't talk to you, and the only way I can talk and get this out is to my audience who I know really care for me and listen and are so genuine and help me whenever I need help. And so you got to get to a point where you can't rely on them. You can't emotionally rely on them. You can't physically rely on them. You can't be dependent on anything. And I made a mistake. I let my guard down once again, and I went into my mom's household thinking things would be different, and they're not. And they're not different. My mom even told me that she feels safer when I'm home, and it gives her a more sense of peace. And now when she doesn't talk to me, she avoids me. She doesn't say hello when I walk into the house. Her husband does, and her husband has been really nice and caters to me more than she does, which is insane. And I have only known him for a few months. Shout out to Maurice. And it's just very unfortunate that I can't be in a space and feel comfortable, So all that to say, I know we all go through struggles and we go through things and hard moments, man, really hard moments sometimes. And I'm going to be honest, right before this, I was crying. I had to cry. You have to get those emotions out. You have to find an outlet, guys. And this is my outlet. I'm lucky enough to be able to do this and to finally get to a point where I can't financially rely on this yet, but I'm getting closer. I really am. And one day maybe I'll be blessed enough to be able to do this full time And it would be amazing. And that's my goal. But you have to fight for it. I have been failing my fight, guys. I have been falling victim to sin, and I've been letting life just get me. I've been sulking in my own depression, and you can't. You have to become so headstrong and so okay with being with yourself and the Holy Spirit that that's all you need. Because Judas, that's his name, right? In the Bible, who was stripped of everything, and he was still relying on God. That's huge. Judas did nothing wrong, and he was still relying on Jesus and the homie Jesus, God the Father, And that's huge, man. There's been times where I go through something small, and then I'm like, oh, screw it. I'm just going to go, X, Y, and Z, and not worry about God, not do this, whatever. And it's like, no, you can't live that way, because it interferes with your character, and it interferes with how you handle situations. And the longer you do it, take my mom, for example, the pushing off of these things. She's not keeping her kelp tendrils. She's cutting everything off. And I don't even think I finished that thought earlier, but she's cutting things off, and that's her way to deal with things. And she has completely cut me off and completely told me she does not care how I feel. Oh, she's putting her feelings over mine. She is saying, I do not care how you feel. You can feel that way, but I feel this way, and you're making me upset. So it's another thing she likes to say, I'm going to have a good day. I'm going to have a good day. I'm going to protect my peace. It's like, that's fine, but you are ruining our relationship. She cried and complained and said when we weren't together, it was the worst years of her life. But now she's made this life with her husband, and they're all happy, which I love for her, and I'm very happy that she's found that. But in response, she's content with that and content with her life that she's made with him, that I do not need to be a part of it. And I can just not, she cannot care how I feel, and that's okay. I wanted to just vent about this, guys, because it's been weighing on me, and it's a big reason why, I'm not as active, and I want to be, and I think this is a good outlet to do this type of stuff so that you guys we can have a better connection. We're not doing the parasocial connection, but a connection. We have a connection. I think it's important to talk about. So next topic of conversation. I am very disappointed about the 24-hour live stream. I don't know if you guys seen that. I put a lot of work into that, and I did mention it in the stream, but I came up with that idea. I've been struggling with money, guys. This is something that's really, really hard for me to talk about. I hate the idea of like shaking a cup, and asking for money. And well, what it is, it's because of my mom. She does these things where a lot of deep-rooted problems come from my relationship with my mother. She will do things for me. She will buy me things. She will do things for me, pay for things for me, or just flat out give me money to help. And then she will throw it back at me. And I've helped you this much. I've helped you this much. I've sent you this much money. And you still, can't do this or that or whatever. Very tit for tat. And it's just tiring. And I feel like anytime I get help from anybody, it's just going to be thrown back at me. I helped you, so now you need to do this for me, or whatever. And it's like, it's just hard. So with the stream, I have been struggling. I am in debt. I struggle so much with asking for help, that I got to a point where I'd rather just take it in and make payments on stuff. And even as little as DoorDash at college, when I was on breaks and there was no food, and I didn't know what to do, and I felt guilty for asking family for help, so I just bit the bullet, and I kept making Affirm payments. I don't know if you know what that is, and it just didn't go well, man, and it put me in debt. And now I'm getting people calling me, and it's bad, and I'm trying to make up for that. I'm trying to do this NPC trip. I'm trying to take care of my dog. I'm trying to do all of these things, trying to find a job, I have a summer class that's starting soon, preparing for the next 2 years of college, which are going to be very, very taxing, and it's just a lot on me, and it's hard to ask for help. So I thought of that idea for the stream, and I'm so blessed with how that turned out and the amount of money that I was able to earn. And a lot of it, I paid for my phone bill. I paid for my NPC trip almost in full now, and I'm waiting on the second half of that. And I had a great time throughout the whole thing. The first 2 hours in, I was discouraged. There was a point where I almost gave up. I really did. I almost made an excuse, and I almost said, something's happening, I have to go, canceling the stream, and that's when I realized, my PlayStation wouldn't connect, and I had errors, and then I just kept it going. And even the embarrassing moments of me just sitting and troubleshooting and nothing going on, obviously some people leave, but there were still over 20 human souls that were watching that and supporting that. They were supporting me in my struggle. As I'm actively struggling in front of you, you're still supporting me, and that speaks volumes to your characters. And it's amazing, and I'm so grateful. And it hurts to hear every day or every other day or every week from my mom that I'm this ungrateful, disrespectful person. Because I'm not, and I know I'm not. And I refuse to be, chastised by this person, no matter who it is. If I had anybody in my life that treated me the way she did, they would be completely removed from my life. The negative things. And I thank her, and I am so grateful of all of the things that she has done for me. But I am not grateful for all of the stuff that she has done wrong. And I don't operate with this tit for tat mentality. I really don't. You could do so much good. You can give me so many ice cream cones. But if you shoot me in the leg, you still shot me in the leg. And that's that. And that's that. So just tough, man. Asking for money is hard, and asking for help is hard, but you guys make me feel better about it. And you make me feel like it's okay to be not okay. My mom makes me feel like it's not okay to not be okay. That's what hurts about that connection. And it's lingering into my other connections. I mean, my father, he hasn't been in my life, and I have tried to rekindle with him many times. And the last time I did, my father left me when I was a baby, right? He was addicted to drugs, and he went down to Florida, and he had to deal with that. And that was his whole thing. He did not return until, 2-3 years ago, and it wasn't a good return. He had told me that if I needed him, when I went through everything with my mom in 2020 originally, I had a really hard time. And he told me if I needed him, that he would be there for me. And I was like, yes, I need you to move up here. Like, this is hard. And then he went back, and then he told me that he never said that. And then I had misheard him, and that he can't move. And I was like, okay, this is a terrible start to rekindling. And it was just, ever since that, he then became financially unstable where he was, and he had no choice but to move back up here, which he loved to tell me that he had choices, but he moved here for me. Okay? Which, thanks for letting me know that, I guess. But what happened is he had to move here because he moved here with his mom. My yaya is what I call her. And that was the situation. He had to stay there because he had no other place to stay. So that ended up happening, and our relationship was just not very good, and I was going through stuff. I wasn't even in college yet, and I had to get my stuff together, and we never connected. Every time we talked, it was bad. And then when I was in college in 2023, 2024, I had this situation with my mom where my mom told me that she would be willing to pay for my car insurance if I was doing good in school. And so I sent her my midterm report that I was passing all my classes. And she said that was not sufficient, and she needed access, my full username and password, and she needed access at all times to all of my grades and all of my information. And I said, no, you do not need that. I have provided you my grades, and the way that my college does it, like you have to, like in Plato is the system we use, and some like don't even have the full grades posted. Some don't even post the grades until the end of the semester. So I was like, I will show you my each individual class grades, which was already kind of overstepping for me, but I'm not giving you my information. And she said, if you want my help, that's what I need. And I said, that is completely not okay and an invasion of my privacy, and I don't accept that, and I will find another way. Money struggle starting. My car insurance. So the whole point of going to college and everything, she said she wanted me to have a better life than she had. I'm getting to my father, and that was the whole point. She wanted me to have a better life, and she wanted me to do things better. And she went to college very slowly over the course of years and years and years, because she was raising me until I went to Milton Hershey School, and she was working and having to provide on herself and all the other stuff that's going on and goes on in life, which not my decision. That was her decision. Okay, so you think that a parent would be like, yes, let me help my child. I'm going to pay for this one bill for them so they don't have to stress about that. So all their focus can be on college, so then they can be successful. That sounds very rational to me. And that obviously was not the case with her. She needs this control over me. She yearns for this control over me and over my life. And I'm not allowing that to happen. There are boundaries that are set for a reason. I am a 23-year-old man. Just because I'm depending on you for help does not mean I will depend on you, and I need to depend on you. I was vulnerable because I thought I could be, and now I will never be that to you again. So with my dad, this all going on, my dad hops in. Meanwhile, he has been removed from her and everything for years and years and years. But then, without knowing anything, he jumps on to my mom, because my mom just assumes, she's like, oh, well, you're not going to show me your grades, so you're up there cutting up, and you're up there, being, you're up there messing up, and you're up there failing, just like you did last time. Like, she loves to speak negativity on me. She loves to think the worst. She does not ever give me the benefit of the doubt. It is always jumping to the worst negative, and that I'm a liar and a manipulator. So he comes at me on the phone, and he's like mad at me because he's like agreeing with her. Mind you, I made the dean's list that semester. The dean's list, you need A's, high A's and B's, and I did that. So this is the same semester. They're both having this little situation together of I'm messing up and I'm not showing you grades because of this, and I'm telling you flat out how I feel and why I'm not doing that. But you don't believe me, and you don't respect me or my word enough, and that's the issue. So that goes on. He calls me, and he's like yelling at me, actually screaming and telling me all the wrongdoings I'm doing, not knowing anything. The famous line that he said that I will never forget is, I need to get my head out of my ass. He said that before, but this was like a famous line that he always likes to say to me. So it's like, you two are the ones that want a relationship in my life, and you're treating me like this. And then that was in probably October. And that same Christmas, my dad's calling me, and he's like, I'm so sorry, and I'm just thinking about you all the time, and I'd love to have you over for dinner or whatever. It's like, do you not understand that I am a human with emotions? And what you're doing is wrong and affecting me very negatively. And again, why, for my dad, if you've never been in my life, and the only times you have been in my life have been negative experiences, why would I keep you in my life? That doesn't make any sense. I have grown into a man without you. He talks about he wants to disciple me and parent me. It's like, we are past that, man. You're not my father figure. I don't see you as that, and I never will. You need to accept that and acknowledge that this is another type of connection. So because of all this going on with each side, it's like my dad tries to reconnect. Like, I think it's been like a year and a half later, and I'm just like, I'm going through the same thing with my mom. It's like, why would I want to? And when, like I said, when my mom was separated from me, she said it was the worst 2 years of her life, and then she ropes me back in, and then she treats me the exact same way. That's insanity. It would be insanity on my part to go back to her and do the same thing again. I will never do it again. I need to lock in to YouTube, to content creation, and I want to in the future. I know I've been inconsistent. I really do, and I know it's probably really annoying, but I've been met with so much appreciation every time I come back. It's so humbling, man. You guys are amazing. And the problem with that is my living situations and then college. So I'm home for the summer. This is the best time to make content. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm getting it back up and going. You know what I mean? It would have been a great situation if I could have done it at home. The first argument me and my mother got into was about that. This episode is going to be primarily about my relationship with my mom, kind of venting that a little bit, kind of also explaining some things. We're kind of going on tangents here, but this is kind of what I want to do for this podcast, and I feel like it's good content. So leave me comments down below telling me how you think I can improve, or if you resonate with any of these things, or or if you're appreciating the podcast and you're happy that it's back. Because of those comments really motivate me to keep going, man. Seriously, I had so many positive comments. I had so many people in the 24-hour live stream saying, I feel like this is a flashback to the podcast, or I missed the podcast, or all this stuff. And it's like, dude, that is so cool, because I know it's not going to be my whole audience. Like, I understand you guys come here for the reactions and the over the top, I get that. But there's another side of me that's a more serious and down-to-earth side that I would like to share, and I feel like this is a good platform to do that with the podcast. And as far as making like other channels for things, I know people like to do that. I don't think I ever will. If I ever hit like a milli, maybe. You know what I mean? That's crazy if that ever happens. I don't see that happening, but if it does, or something crazy like that to separate things. But I like Josiah Games TV because it's TV. You think of TV and you think of different channels, and there's different things going on, and there's different channels. You can come here for reactions, you can come here for live stream gameplays, you can come here for podcasts, you can come here, you know what I mean, like for different things. And I'm going to keep, expanding that out. But that's just kind of how I like it, And so all that to say, I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate your guys' support on the series. But back to what I was saying. I also need to put some things on Spotify. I need to look into how to do that, because I know people have been saying that they want that, so I'll look into that for you guys too. But the first thing was when I was coming home from college, right? Everything before that, me and my mom were on great terms. I was going through a lot my last couple weeks at college, very, very, very hard, and I was using her as a support, as somebody to vent to, as somebody I can lean on, because I felt like we finally got to a place where we could, and I was so appreciative of her help and told her that all the time and how grateful I was. And she had a cruise planned, and the idea was that I could move my stuff or get somebody to help me move my stuff, or get a U-Haul, whatever, other family members, and then move it from college to her house. And then she wouldn't have to help because she's preparing for her trip, her cruise ship, mind you, her vacation, okay? So she gets this vacation, which I'm very glad she gets to do that, but just putting it in perspective here. So she's preparing for her vacation. she, in her words, bent over backwards to help me, and I appreciate it. And she did bend over backwards. She had a lot of appointments, and she was very tired, and she did what she could to help me. She got a van, a U-Haul van, and not a U-Haul, but it was like a Home Depot one because they were shorter, and she got that, and she came to help me. That was great. I was so appreciative. So we get home, and she's like, take your time unpacking. We can figure this out. The place where I used to do YouTube was in my downstairs setup, which I don't know if you guys remember that, but the setups will be coming back very shortly for something secret I'm putting together. But the whole thing was she was on vacation and she wanted me to clean the bathrooms while she was gone, right? So I was like, yeah, of course I got you. I half-assed it. I'm not going to lie. I did. I didn't think it was as dirty as she perceived it, and I wiped down a few things, and I was like, all right, this looks fine to me. I live very differently than my mom. I've been raised differently in a different environment. I haven't lived with her for a very long time, and the time that I did, it was not a good connection, so it's been a while. So she comes back, and I still have my stuff in the back room, because where I did my YouTube before, in the basement, it was completely filled with stuff. There was, like, stuff everywhere. And I was like, I didn't want to bother her with this while she's on vacation. So I'm like, well, I'm going to wait till she comes back. First thing I'll do is ask her where I can put this stuff so that I can move my stuff downstairs. Because with both amount of stuff, like, I'm not going to be able to walk down there. Like, that's how bad it was. There were so many items. Think about it. It's every item I own in one place, and then all that extra stuff she had. So she gets home, and she's upset about the bathroom, which, okay, I understand that. And I apologize. I said, listen, I'm sorry. I had just come home from all this stress. I just wanted to breathe, kind of take a little bit of a break. I did not clean it as thoroughly. And what she did was she went upstairs and she started cleaning without saying anything to me. She saw that it wasn't to her standard, so she started cleaning it for herself. And I'm like, why are you cleaning that? Like, just tell me and I can clean it how you want to clean it. And so she's like, no, I'm already cleaning it. I shouldn't have to be doing it. I'm like, okay, I know you shouldn't have to be doing this. Please stop so that I could do it. She didn't want to stop. So that was her decision to continue to clean that bathroom. That was not me, okay? But I understand she was upset. And I was like, let me go clean the other bathroom. And I did. And I apologized. There's not really much else I can do except for do better going forward. I've apologized. I've expressed that I was sorry. I was tired. Like, my bad. So she's already irritated from that. Apparently she's sick. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I ask her about the items downstairs. And she says, just put all your stuff down there. And I'm like, it's not going to fit. And she's mad because I didn't try it before doing it. So she's upset that I did not move it all down there before explaining that I didn't think there would be enough room. So then she said, why don't you move everything upstairs to your bedroom? And I said, okay, if I do that, I'm not going to have any room at all in my bedroom to walk around, to maneuver, to anything, And she said, you don't know that. You haven't tried. I said, okay, Mom. So I start moving stuff to my bedroom. Then she says, stop. I don't want you moving any of that to your bedroom, actually, because of the dog hair. So put it all downstairs. So now there's no compromise made. She doesn't want it in her back room because she doesn't like items feeling cluttered. So then I move it downstairs with no room. So as soon as I hear that, I'm like, okay, well, I have my setup here in this room. As you can see now, I'm like, and I was preparing for this 24-hour live stream, and I'm like, well, I need a place fast, and I need to be able to prepare for this. So that moment, as soon as I had a conversation with her and she told me there was no room, I was like, okay. And then I called up my cousin Austin literally that second. I was like, hey, man, like, is there something that, like, I don't know what to do? Do you think it'd be possible to go over there, record, whatever? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. So problem solved. Then she got mad at me and started treating me so rudely because I didn't first attempt to record or anything down there, or I didn't ask her to record in another room of the house. you guys know me and you know how loud I am when I react to stuff. She said, why didn't you ask to record anywhere? I'm like, well, nowhere else in your house you would want my full setup of things. You don't even like my stuff here. And she didn't. She didn't have another place for it. I did a repo live stream one time in my room. The amount of echo, it was unwatchable, and I'm getting ready to delete the stream. It wasn't professional quality. I like to have a certain... It's my YouTube channel, and I like to have a certain preference of my space and my background. I have my posters, I have my sign, and if you look at any of my setups, they've all had very similar things. That's what I like. I like to have a good sound quality. I think if you guys aren't going to sit and listen to me for an hour-long podcast if I sound horrible and it's echoey. No one would want that. And I want the best quality for you guys. So I explained all that. I also explained how there's no internet access down there and I would need a long Ethernet cable. And I didn't have that with me because I gave it to my friend Raiden to use. Then she says, well, why would you give that to him? Why would you do that? Negativity. I did it because he's my friend. I did it because I care and love my friend Raiden and wanted him to be able to play and use his computer. And because it was an extra. And because it's not that big of a deal. So every little thing I did, she was just mad at me for. And it just left a really sour taste in both of our mouths. We stopped talking for a little bit. She asked me to lunch. We go to lunch. And she explains how she wants a clean house and that, that's all she cares about. And I'm like, okay, I understand that. And again, I've apologized for that. I've tried my best to apologize for that. And going forward, she was upset that I didn't put the dishes away that I had dried. So she was upset because I had so many dishes that I used because it was a week's worth of dishes. And I like to do things all at once instead of how she does it one at a time, which is just a preference thing. But when she got home, all of the dishes were cleaned, but they weren't put away. So she was mad at me for that. And she was also mad that in my room, in my space as a 23-year-old, I had my laundry on my bed. And she said I just threw it on my bed right before they got there. She made up like this story in her head. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I do laundry differently. I have asked her so many times to have I've asked her this since 2021 and she still has not done this. She gives me the same response every time. She's very dismissive to me. No matter what I say or do, she's dismissive because she has better things to do and it's not on her priority. I am not on her priority at all. Despite what she says, her actions shows. She clearly shows. So, I don't even remember what I was talking about. Oh, the laundry thing. I have asked for, I don't have any place to put my laundry. She has taken over my closet. She has all of her own belongings in my closet, stuffed to the max. I also brought something of my own, a tiny little dresser that she filled with her own stuff. I have no room for anything. And where I put my clothes are on my bed because I don't have a place to put them. I have my hamper that I can either have clean or dirty clothes on, and then I have my bed. So I put my dirty clothes in the hamper, and I put my clean clothes on my bed. I don't have any place to hang them up. I don't have any place to fold them and place them. I have nothing because she has filled it all up. I expressed this concern to her, and how that makes me feel uncomfortable in my living space, and she says the same thing every time, and she never does it. Oh, well, I'm planning to buy a new dresser set, so whenever I do that, you can have one of mine. I'm like, okay. Radio silence. So that's something I deal with. Bubba, today even, she tried to guilt trip me and say, well, you're staying out so long and you're keeping him in the cage for so long in the day. I, of course, know that, and it, of course, hurts me that I have to do that, but I can't have my setup for YouTube at your house. I can't hang out with any my cousins at your house, and I make sure my dog is well kept, and he gets placed to go outside. I take him out and I come back at least by every 6 to 8 hours to make sure, and I feed him, and he has water. So I can take care of my animal on my own. I don't need you to dictate any of that, especially when we're not on good terms. So go rewind a little bit. We go to lunch after the first instance that I described with the laundry and the dishes and me not cleaning the bathrooms and, which the laundry and dishes weren't even a problem. That's the whole thing. So she tells me, basically, I just want a clean house, and that's all. And that's all I have to say. That's her whole side. I'm like, okay. And then I try to explain my side. I can do a podcast by myself for over an hour. That shows you how much I can talk. I'm a yapper. I get that. But I'm not just saying things to say things. I'm saying things so you can try and understand how I feel. And I'm trying to articulate my words to her. My mom cuts me off. She does not let me finish at all. And then she gets upset when she pushes my buttons, and then I act out of character and I start to get flustered and I start to raise my voice or I start to talk over her because I feel so cornered and unheard. But as soon as I do that, I'm wrong. She sat there and told me her entire side, and whenever I said, "Are you done?" She said, "Yes." I try and go for my side. She cuts me off and she tells me she's not hearing it. And then she gets upset because the body language, if I'm actively telling you how I feel, and you're sitting there like this. For those, if you're listening on audio, I just sat and kind of sighed and looked to the side and shook my head. Body language says a lot, and it tells you a lot about how somebody's thinking or perceiving what you're saying. And she sits there and she's justifying that body language. She's like, that's just how I am. That's just how I am. You can't be mad at me for that. And I just get gaslit over and 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 over again. And it's tiring. And then she tries to come on my YouTube live streams or chats, names herself Mama Games TV, and tries to have this connection with everybody. She tried to do it in the 24-hour live stream, and I ignored her. And it's not anybody's fault that has communicated with her, and you guys have been very nice, and I appreciate that. You guys don't know what's going on or haven't known, but it's just frustrating, man, how you can just go from treating me, giving me these ice cream cones, to bait me into something sweet and then to just tear me down. And I will never rely on her for anything again, not financially, not for help physically or anything like that. And if you have people in your life that have been narcissistic or that have been, caused you a great deal of pain no matter what you do, and you have come to the point where you don't want them in your life anymore, you have to come to that point. Because I'm at a point, it's hard. It's so difficult because half of me wants to be done. When I'm done this summer and I'm not living with her anymore and I remove all of my belongings from her house, I'd say 60-70% at this point wants to be done. To cut her off completely. I'm at that point because I don't have anything in me that will tolerate a relationship where the other person does not care how I feel. And it's as simple as that. It's so simple. Even if we get in an argument and you tell me you don't care how I feel, that is still not okay. If you truly loved me unconditionally, which Jesus, God the Father and the Holy Spirit are the ones that love you unconditionally. He's the one that loves you unconditionally. And that is the only true source of unconditional love. It doesn't matter. Seriously, it doesn't matter who you are thinking of right now. There is another level of love higher than that, which can really put it into perspective for people that are really in love with someone or truly love someone. We can't even comprehend the amount of love. Think of this. Think if I, a regular human, amongst everybody, Jesus was not a regular human, but a human sacrificed himself through pain and suffering and turmoil and people spitting on him and completely destroying him and putting a crown of thorns on his head and beating him and stoning him and taking nails that big right there and pounding them into his hands and his feet and his ankles and being hung like that and still being poked and prodded at. And he went through all of that for you. For you. That's unconditional love. That's what that is. And it's so foreign. And it's the source of love that I have to be focused on and you have to be focused on. But we cannot get our anything from the earth. Not drugs, not alcohol, not sexual desires, not anything like that. You can't rely on those things because they are finite. It's like a fossil fuel. It's going to be gone. And when it's gone, you're going to be cooked. Imagine a car that doesn't have any gas, a non-electric car. You can't do anything with it. It has so much potential. It has so much potential. But you can't do anything with it. But imagine if you could take this super battery in any car, in any condition, you could put it in and the car runs just like brand new and it will never stop running. That battery is God. And that's what you need and that's what I need. And I've been missing that because I've been trying to use my mom as a source. And I've been trying to use other means as a source. And that's not working. And it's going to continue to not work. And you can put fake fuel in a car and it might run a little bit for a little while and you might run on fumes for a bit, but that car is going to break down and it might go for a while longer than you thought. But it is not getting across the finish line. It's not. It won't. So many people today like to or try to rely, self-sufficiency, which in a sense it's okay to be self-sufficient in the matters that I'm describing of, not relying on family members for stuff and getting a good job and paying for your own food and all that. Of course, that's self-sufficient. But with the type of self-sufficiency I'm talking about is the self-centeredness of they think they can do everything on their own and they don't need anybody else's help or they don't need anything. And you're going to find that you're going to run into so many roadblocks. And I'm telling you guys, God is the way to get through those. My outlook just in the past couple days have changed so much because I have fully committed to God again. It's not that I haven't been a Christian or haven't been praising him, but it's like it's everything you do. Everything you do. It doesn't matter if the doors are closed or open or if there's people there or if they're a million miles away. Everything you do impacts your character. It impacts you and it impacts your decision making. It impacts how you perceive things. It impacts the environment around you. Vibes or whatever. People talk about that, bad vibe, good vibe. You know what I mean? It's spiritual. It's spiritual. Someone can be going through some stuff, man, and you can sense it. You can feel it. If you're really tapped into the Holy Spirit, you can. And it might just be a gift, and certain people feel, or it might be everything. But being aware of these type of things, it's huge, man. And I say all this to say that I will never stop communicating the way that I do. I will never change the way that I am. Growth requires change, right? So you can't get stubborn and stuck on certain things about yourself. And that's hard for people in this day and age. You'll have a character trait or a quirk, My Hero Academia, or something that you like to do, a hobby, something you watch or something you go see or like something, right? Your hobbies. Or whatever about yourself. So it could be a characteristic, seriously, something, whatever it is. And you're going to come to a roadblock where you're faced with a decision. You're faced with, if you continue to do this, you're going to be on a bad path. Or if you stop doing this and you don't do this, or you change this action, you're going to grow. If you take anything away from this, these 3 words, growth requires change. If you're stuck and you feel stagnant in your life and you feel like things aren't moving and you think you're not progressing, or you want things to be different, you have to do that yourself. You have to apply that change. You are the only one that you can rely on besides God. That's it. There's going to be a point where your loved ones are not going to be there for a distance reason, for, physical, or just like something happens and you have something goes wrong, and you have to be okay in that moment. My Grammy is going to die, and I have to be okay in that moment. My Grammy is my rock. She is my favorite person on this earth. And seeing her go through this dementia is so hard. It is the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with. And it's a constant. It doesn't go away, I stayed up till 3 a.m. the other day. Yeah. And I just got a text from her, and that's just crazy timing. Talk about the Holy Spirit, like I just spoke her up. But I have to take advantage of the time that I have and when she's with me, and there's moments where she comes back and I can kind of see her, like it's my Grammy, like she's talking to me like this. She's still there, and I'm going to see her again. She's going to pass, and she's going to leave this earth, and all the pain that she's going through, it's going to be gone. And she's going to be happy with God in heaven. And that's so beautiful. And that's just all I want for you guys, man. I want to be able to build this channel up to not only spread joy and happiness and, give you guys something to watch when you're eating your cereal, but I want to do this too because I want to share. The ultimate goal of my life is I want to find a wife, and I want to have children, and I want to share the joy of God with them and through my children, and let my legacy live on and be known as that. And I want to get to a point where this channel, where I can impact a lot of people, and I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm not there yet. I know I'm not there yet, and I'm sorry if this is a jump scare sound. I think I paused it in time. But I'm getting there through silly reaction videos, But I did want to say that I know I said it a lot, but I am so appreciative of every single one of you. It doesn't matter if you donate physical money. It doesn't matter. You being here and supporting me means so much more to me than you could ever know, because I don't get it at home, and I can come to YouTube and I get that. And that is something special and something I truly appreciate. So I want to pray to end this up, and then I'll say some final words, and then we'll be done with this podcast, episode 4. Dear God, thank you for waking me up this morning. Thank you for giving me all of the 5 senses that I have. There's so much that we take for granted that we don't even think about. Thank you for the air that I breathe. Thank you for the ground that I walk on. Thank you for the clothing that I can wear and that I can wash and that are clean. Thank you for things that I can use to clean myself. Thank you for everything and anything that I take advantage of on a daily basis. I thank you for it. And I thank you that during this struggling time and even straying away from you, that you've kept your hand on me, and know that anybody out there that's going through anything similar to me in the slightest, and that has veered away from your path, or that has never met you on that path, that they can meet you right now in Jesus' name. Make yourself apparent to them, God. Show your light to them and show them that you are real and you are powerful and you are everlasting and you are unconditional love. You are the pure source of unconditional love. And show them that your path is the right path, and give them your grace and your mercy, Lord Jesus. Thank you again for everything that you've done for me and for blessing my channel and blessing me and blessing my podcast. And I pray that my Grammy can be okay and she can go through this as painless as possible. And I pray for my connection with my mom and my dad. And I pray that I can come to a point where if there's anything that I can do to strengthen it, that I can. And I pray that they can both come to a point as well. And I thank you for everything that you've done for me. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the podcast. And this was a little bit of a different one. I don't know how different. I mean, I know I got into some personal stuff, but I like doing that. I think this is a great platform for that. And let me know, seriously, if you've made it to the end, please comment. Tell me what you thought about the podcast. If this is something that you would truly love to continue and hear me do. And if there's topics, I would love for you to drop topics. Or if anything that I said, or if you're struggling with anything, I can take some submissions and you know, I can start doing that in the Discord. I'll make a Discord channel. That's what I'll do. In my Discord, I'll make a thing for questions for podcasts or podcast topics. And you can put that in there. So Discord is in the link of this description of all my videos. And yeah, that's all I have to say. So thank you guys so much for listening to this rendition of the Josiah Podcast TV. And I will see y'all in the next one. Deuces.